Captain Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and felt very small. Around him, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with alien voices speaking in languages that hurt his ears. The ceiling stretched up so high he could barely see it, and the walls glowed with strange blue light that made his skin look pale and sick. He looked down at his simple Earth uniform. It was clean and pressed, but next to the shining armor and crystal bodies of the aliens around him, it looked cheap and ugly. His hands shook a little as he held his tablet with Earth's military reports. "Next on the agenda," said the council speaker, a tall creature made of living crystal. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. "The human request for defensive support." Jake stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. He walked to the center of the chamber where a bright light shone down on him. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at him from all directions. Some had 6 eyes, some had compound eyes like insects, and some glowed with their own light. "Honored council members," Jake began, his voice cracking slightly. "Earth faces increased attacks from pirates and raiders. Our colonies are being destroyed. Our trade ships are being captured. We ask for help from our galactic neighbors. Sound like breaking wind filled the chamber. It took Jake a moment to realize it was laughter. The aliens were laughing at him. Admiral Lisa Hayes of the Zephyrian Defense Force stood up. Her crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. "Human Morrison," she said, and her voice dripped with mockery. "We have reviewed your so-called military capabilities. Your largest warship has the firepower of our scout vessels. Your fastest ship moves at the speed our cargo haulers consider slow." More laughter filled the chamber. Jake felt his face turn red. General Crix of the Vex Empire clicked his mandibles together in what Jake knew was their version of laughter. The insect-like creature's 4 arms gestured dismissively. "Your weapons are chemical explosives and metal, projectiles. Our children play with more advanced toys. How can you call these machines warships?" "They are barely more advanced than chemical rockets," Admiral Hayes continued. "Perhaps you should ask the Space Scouts for protection instead of the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted in alien laughter again. Jake heard sounds like howling wind, grinding stone, and musical notes that made him feel dizzy. He gripped his tablet tighter. "Your population is only 8 billion, said another alien voice. Jake could not see who was speaking. "The Vex Empire has over 400 billion citizens. The Zephyrian Collective has colonies on 12,000 worlds. What can you possibly offer in return for our protection?" "We have good fighters," Jake said weakly. "Human soldiers are brave and—" "Brave?" General Crix interrupted. "Your soldiers carry weapons that fire metal bullets. Our basic infantry have plasma rifles that can melt through battleship armor. Your bravery means nothing against our technology." Jake tried to speak again, but Admiral Hayes cut him off. "The Galactic Council has more important matters to discuss. We cannot waste time and resources protecting a species that refuses to advance beyond primitive technology." "But our colonies are being destroyed," Jake said, his voice getting louder. "People are dying, entire settlements are being wiped out. Then perhaps you should have thought of that before you ventured into space with such laughable defenses," Admiral Hayes replied coldly. "The galaxy is dangerous, human. Only the strong survive." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he knew it was useless. The aliens were right. Earth's military was weak compared to theirs. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their technology centuries ahead of anything humans had built. "The Crimson Nebula pirates are using your space as a highway," he tried one more time. "They attack our worlds and then disappear into the outer rim. We need help tracking them." "The Crimson Nebula pirates are a minor nuisance," said another alien voice. "If you cannot handle a few raiders, you do not deserve to be in space." Jake looked around the chamber desperately. Every alien face showed the same expression of bored contempt. To them, humans were nothing more than annoying insects asking for help with problems they should solve themselves. In the back of the chamber, Colonel Ben Parker sat quietly in the observer section. He wore a simple military uniform like Jake's, but his face showed no emotion as he watched the humiliation unfold. His personal communicator buzzed softly against his wrist. Parker looked down at the small device. The message was short and contained, Only coordinates and a single word. 7th. Parker's expression did not change, but his eyes became sharp and focused. He stood up quietly and walked toward the exit. None of the aliens noticed him leave. They were too busy laughing at Jake's continued pleas for help. Perhaps, Admiral Hayes said with fake kindness, you should return to your little planet and work on advancing your technology. Come back in a few hundred years when you have something more impressive than chemical rockets. Jake felt his shoulders slump in defeat. He gathered his tablet and papers with shaking hands. Thank you for your time, he said quietly. As he walked back to his seat, the aliens had already moved on to other business. They talked about trade agreements worth billions of credits, military exercises involving thousands of ships, and territorial disputes that affected entire star systems. Human problems were too small to matter. Jake sat down heavily in his chair. He felt sick and embarrassed. Earth had sent him here with hope that the advanced civilizations would help protect human colonies. Instead, he had been laughed at and dismissed like a child asking adults for help with playground bullies. Colonel Parker was gone. Jake had not even noticed him leave. The chamber continued to buzz with alien voices discussing matters that would affect the fates of trillions of beings across the galaxy. None of those matters involved humans. The humiliation was complete. Earth was alone in a hostile galaxy, and everyone knew it. Colonel Ben Parker's small transport ship moved quietly through the outer edge of Jupiter's system. The giant planet filled his view screen, its red spots staring at him like a massive eye. But Parker was not looking at Jupiter. His eyes were fixed on a small gray moon that most people had never heard of. Himalaya was Jupiter's 7th moon. It was cold, dead, and covered in ice. Space charts listed it as having no value for mining or colonization. Most people forgot it existed. That was exactly what made it perfect. Parker's ship approached what looked like an empty ice field. He typed a long code into his navigation computer. Suddenly, the ice began to move. A section of the surface split apart like giant doors opening. Underneath was a landing bay big enough to hold 50 ships. Parker landed his transport and stepped out into the artificial atmosphere of the hidden base. The landing bay was carved directly out of the moon's rock. Bright lights made everything look clean and new, but Parker could see the tool marks on the walls where machines had cut through solid stone for 15 years. Dr. Amy Foster met him at the airlock. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but when she smiled, Parker could see the excitement that had kept her working 18-hour days for the past decade and a half. "Ben," she said, shaking his hand, "you're just in time. We're almost ready for the first full power test." They walked through corridors that had been blasted out of solid rock. The base was enormous. Parker had helped plan it, but every time he visited, he was amazed by how much they had accomplished. Thousands of people had worked in secret to build this place. Engineers, scientists, construction workers, and security personnel. All of them had sworn oaths that they would rather die than reveal what they were building. "How did the council meeting go?" Amy asked as they walked. "About as well as we expected," Parker replied. "They laughed at Jake, called our technology primitive, said we should come back in a few hundred years." Amy nodded grimly. "Good. The longer they think we're helpless, the more time we have to finish the project." They entered a massive chamber carved deep into the moon's core. Parker stopped walking and stared. Even though he had seen it before, the sight still took his breath away. The ship was huge. It stretched across the entire chamber, nearly a kilometer long. But its size was not what made it special. The hull was black as empty space, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange angles and curves made it hard to focus on. Looking at it too long made Parker's eyes water. "She's beautiful," Amy said proudly, "and she's almost ready." Commander Rick Sullivan walked up to them. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of military service. He had commanded destroyers and cruisers in Earth's small navy, but this ship was different from anything he had ever seen. "Colonel Parker," Sullivan said, saluting. "Welcome back to the 7th. Parker returned the salute. "How is she performing, Commander?" "Better than our best predictions," Sullivan replied. "Yesterday we completed a 30-second phase jump. She moved completely out of normal space and back again with no problems. Amy led them to an